The quiet peace that had settled across the galaxy was shattered in an instant. It began like any other day, with no signs of the chaos to come. On a small, peaceful colony on the edge of known space, a child was playing in the fields, her laughter echoing in the warm sun. She had no idea that her life was about to change forever. The child, no more than 7 years old, was a symbol of innocence in a universe that was slowly losing its sense of compassion. But to a certain group, her innocence was a threat. Her parents were part of the Earth delegation that had been quietly influencing the surrounding star systems, fostering peace and trade. Their goal had been simple: unite the galaxy under a banner of cooperation. But some believed humanity was becoming too powerful, too influential. The child was taken without warning. It was the act of a coward. There was no negotiation, no warning. The leaders of the alien species responsible didn't care about her parents' pleas or the threats of retaliation. They had seen humanity as weak, too soft to strike back. They didn't understand what they were dealing with. News of her abduction spread across the galaxy like wildfire. It didn't matter where you were, whether you were on a distant colony or at the heart of the Galactic Council. Every species reacted with shock, disbelief, and a quiet fear that no one dared speak out loud. The child's disappearance wasn't just an isolated incident. It was an act of war against all of humanity. When the government of Earth received the news, they didn't panic. They didn't launch an immediate counterattack or send fleets into space. But they understood one thing clearly: this would be a defining moment for the human race. The line had been crossed. At first, humanity tried to negotiate. They sent a message to the alien species who had committed the crime. "Return the child, or there will be consequences," it said. Simple, direct, and clear. The response from the alien leaders was swift and cold. "The child is ours now. You have no power here." That was the mistake. The galaxy didn't know it yet, but in that moment, humanity decided they would no longer tolerate being underestimated. They were not the weak species others had assumed them to be. They would not be silent, and they would not forgive. Back on Earth, the leaders of the various factions met in secret. They knew a direct military response could lead to full-scale war. But they also understood that if they allowed this act to pass without retaliation, the galaxy would view them as weak forever. They couldn't afford that. Not after everything humanity had built. Humanity's leaders made a decision, one that would echo across the stars. They chose revenge. The decision was not made lightly. Earth had always prided itself on diplomacy, on building peace. But there was a limit to what any civilization could tolerate. The death of innocence, the kidnapping of a child, was beyond that limit. And Earth would not rest until it had exacted justice. Behind the scenes, a team of the galaxy's most brilliant minds, including the top military strategists, engineers, and diplomats, were brought together to create a plan. They knew they couldn't just fight back in the traditional sense. Earth didn't have the largest fleet or the most advanced technology, but they had something much more powerful: the will to do whatever it took to win. The plan was simple but brutal. Humanity would strike where it hurt most. The strike wouldn't come from an attack on military outposts or ships. It would come from their very hearts, targeting what mattered most to the aliens responsible. Earth would make sure that every single life in the galaxy felt the consequences of that one fateful decision. But there was another element to consider. Earth was still seen as a new player on the galactic stage. Some species saw the humans as nothing more than a minor nuisance, a small, insignificant race to be ignored. But humanity's resolve was about to show the galaxy just how wrong they were. Back on the home front, as the preparations for the counterstrike began, there was an air of eerie calm. People knew that something was coming. They knew that Earth had been pushed too far, and that what followed would change everything. The tension was palpable across the globe. The child's abduction had sparked something inside the human race, a fire that couldn't be put out. As the leaders began to mobilize their forces, the citizens of Earth gathered in unspoken unity. They, too, knew what had to be done. The message humanity would send to the galaxy would be clear. No one harms a human child and gets away with it. This wasn't just about one child. This was about humanity's place in the galaxy. This was about respect. And Earth would make sure everyone understood that lesson. The stage was set, and as Earth's first move unfolded, the galaxy would soon realize just how dangerous it was to cross humanity. The shockwaves of the crime committed against that innocent child would ripple through the stars, igniting the new era of power. The moment of reckoning had arrived, and it would not be forgotten. The decision had been made. The leaders of Earth, in the span of a single meeting, had transformed from a species seeking peace to one determined to exact vengeance on those who dared harm their own. The message was clear. Earth would not be weak, and they would never forget the death of an innocent child. The galaxy would remember this day forever. But the real challenge now was how they would act. There was no question of diplomacy anymore. There would be no more negotiations. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for far too long, and now they would understand the true power that lay within Earth. The military commanders, brilliant minds, and strategists gathered together in the secret war rooms of Earth, preparing for a strike that would send shockwaves across the stars. As the days passed, Earth's leaders worked tirelessly behind closed doors, setting into motion a plan unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The world's top engineers, military officials, and spies were put to work, each contributing in their own way to create the perfect weapon. The plan would not be one of brute force alone. It would be strategic, calculated, and devastating. Earth had always been known for its ingenuity. The human race may not have had the largest fleets or the deadliest weapons, but they had something far more dangerous: creativity. Humans had the ability to adapt, to turn the odds in their favor, and to find innovative solutions to problems others would have considered unsolvable. In the heart of Earth's capital, within the most secure facility, a small team of scientists worked on a weapon so powerful that its existence alone could shift the balance of power in the galaxy. This weapon would not destroy planets or civilizations outright. Instead, it would strike at the core of the alien species responsible for the child's death: their hearts. The plan was simple but brutal. Target their most sacred places, places that held the essence of their power. Humanity would strike at the foundations of their society, causing the aliens to question everything they believed in. This weapon would make them realize, in the most painful way, that there was no hiding from Earth's fury. Meanwhile, the military forces began to move into position, assembling fleets in secret, each ship carefully designed for the mission. The ships were equipped with the latest technology, developed in secret laboratories, capable of traveling vast distances without detection. They were armed with weapons that could cripple enemy ships and disable entire planets. But it was the precision of these ships that made them so dangerous. Each move was calculated. Every action would have a purpose. The leaders knew that they couldn't simply attack directly. They couldn't risk a war with the entire galaxy all at once. Instead, they would target specific key systems, alien factions that had supported the group responsible for the child's death. These factions had been too arrogant to understand what they were doing. They had thought humanity would cower, retreat, or talk them down. They couldn't have been more wrong. Across Earth, whispers of the coming strike filled the air. People talked in hushed tones, waiting for the moment when the operation would be set in motion. The leaders of Earth, however, remained silent. They understood the importance of secrecy. If they revealed their plans too soon, it could ruin everything. The element of surprise was critical. The countdown to humanity's revenge began, and Earth's forces moved quickly. In the quiet hours of the night, thousands of ships, some cloaked, some hidden in plain sight, began their journey into deep space. The galaxy was still blissfully unaware of what was about to unfold. For most, it was just another day. But for Earth, it was the beginning of a new chapter. As the ships moved further from Earth, the leaders knew the path ahead would not be easy. They would face resistance from every corner of the galaxy, from powerful forces who had been friends of the alien factions. But this did not deter them. Humanity had been pushed to its breaking point. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about making a statement. It was about teaching the galaxy that underestimating humanity had consequences. Deep in the heart of space, as Earth's fleet quietly approached its first target, the rest of the galaxy continued its routine, unaware of the storm that was coming. The leaders of the alien factions who had been responsible for the child's death were confident that their decision would go unchallenged. They had seen humanity as weak, disorganized, and easily controlled. They were blind to the storm that was about to hit them. Back on Earth, the air was thick with anticipation. People could feel it in their bones, in the very fabric of their existence. Humanity had been silent for far too long, but silence would not be their response anymore. They had been wronged, and they were ready to make the galaxy understand just how dangerous a cornered human could be. As the first strike approached its target, the message was clear. Humanity would no longer be ignored. They had a power far greater than any fleet or weapon. They had the strength to fight for their children, for their future, and for their place in the galaxy. The galaxy had been warned. Now, Earth would make its mark. And the universe would never forget the lesson it would learn in the coming days. The ships had been moving through the cold expanse of space for days, each one cloaked and silent, hidden in the shadows of distant stars. Earth's forces, poised for the first strike, were ready to send a message so powerful that the entire galaxy would feel its shockwaves. The time had come to make the first move. The galaxy would never see this coming. The target was a heavily fortified alien installation on a distant moon, a key base used by the faction responsible for the death of the human child. This installation, one of their most sacred, housed their most precious resources and technologies. But to Earth, it was nothing more than a symbol of their arrogance, a target that would show the galaxy that humanity would not be pushed around any longer. On board the flagship, Commander Maris stood in front of the giant display screen, watching as the stars passed by in a blur. She was the leader of Earth's Special Task Force, chosen for her tactical brilliance and unshakable resolve. Her eyes were cold, focused on the mission ahead, as she gave the order for the fleet to make its final approach. The air in the command center felt thick with anticipation. The moment they had been waiting for was finally here. Stealth mode engaged, the navigator reported. The fleet had entered the outer rim of the alien moon's defense range, invisible to any scanners or sensors. For the next few minutes, they would be undetected, their movements hidden by the advanced cloaking technology Earth had developed in secret. The alien forces would have no idea they were coming until it was too late. As the fleet drew closer, Commander Maris gave a silent nod to her officers. She had carefully planned every detail of this strike. The weapons were prepared, the strategies rehearsed, and the timing had to be perfect. There could be no mistakes. This was Earth's moment to send a clear message, and failure was not an option. Within minutes, the massive installation came into view, a sprawling complex built into the moon's surface. The alien structure gleamed, its vast towers reaching into the sky, the lights of its technology flickering across the surface like a beacon. It was magnificent, a testament to the might of the aliens who had thought they were invincible. But now, it was their downfall. Commander Maris stared at the base, her hand hovering over the controls. The moment had arrived. The first weapon was launched, an advanced, high-powered EMP missile designed to disable all electronic systems within the installation. As the missile streaked toward its target, Maris could hear her heart pounding in her ears. This was it. This was the moment that would define Earth's future. The EMP missile hit its mark, and within seconds, the entire installation was plunged into darkness. The once vibrant base became a dead husk, its once operational systems now useless. The alien forces inside scrambled, their communications down, their weapons offline. They were vulnerable. But that was just the beginning. Earth's forces had one more weapon to deploy, a psychological strike designed to rattle the aliens to their core. With their systems crippled and their forces in disarray, the fleet deployed a second, more insidious weapon. It was a broadcast, sent directly to every corner of the alien base, a message that would be seen by every single occupant. The screen flickered to life across the alien base. A chilling voice, cold and deliberate, began to speak. "You thought you could take the life of an innocent. You thought we would remain silent. But you were wrong. The death of one human child is a crime too great to ignore. This is just the beginning. We are coming for all of you." The message echoed throughout the base, and as it played, the aliens could hear the faint sound of human voices in the background. A chorus of defiance, of strength, of people who had refused to be crushed. The voice was a reminder of humanity's resolve, the willingness to fight back no matter the odds. And as the broadcast ended, the final words were left to hang in the air. Humanity remembers. The response from the aliens was immediate, though it was clear their forces were shaken. The base's commanders quickly tried to rally their troops, but the damage had already been done. The psychological impact of the broadcast was profound. Their once great facility was now crippled, and the morale of their forces had been shattered. For the first time in their history, the aliens realized they were vulnerable. Earth's fleet didn't waste time. With their primary objective completed, they began to withdraw, disappearing into the shadows once more, leaving behind a shattered base and an enemy unsure of their next move. But Commander Maris knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had been put on notice. Earth had shown its power, and there would be no more underestimating humanity. As the ships retreated back into the safety of deep space, the fleet's communication systems buzzed with messages of success. Earth's first strike had been a success, but Commander Maris didn't feel relief. She didn't feel victory. Not yet. There was still so much to do, and the galaxy had no idea what Earth was capable of. The aliens would rebuild. They would regroup, but Earth would be ready. This was just the start of something much larger, a campaign that would send shockwaves across the galaxy, a reminder that humanity would never be silenced, that they would never forgive those who harmed their own. The galaxy would learn to fear the name of Earth, and deep in space, Earth's fleet, now scattered and hidden, prepared for the next stage of their plan. The first strike had been successful, but the war had just begun. The galaxy had always been a place of infinite possibilities, filled with countless species and civilizations. Yet, until this moment, it had remained largely silent. Each race focused on its own survival, unaware of the looming storm gathering at the heart of humanity. But now, Earth's strike had sent ripples far beyond the alien installation. The galaxy was waking up, and it was starting to take notice of the consequences. Back on Earth, the Council of Leaders watched in silence as the report came in. The first phase of their plan had succeeded beyond their expectations. Earth's message had been delivered, and the galaxy was feeling the shockwaves. The broadcast had left the alien forces rattled, and while they were quick to repair the damage, the morale of their armies had been fractured. There was fear now. Fear of humanity's power and its capacity for revenge. Commander Maris sat in her command center, looking out at the starry expanse. She had spent her whole life training for this moment, but now that it was happening, it felt different. The weight of her decisions pressed down on her. This wasn't just about a single child or a single act of violence. This was about setting the stage for a new chapter in galactic history. Humanity had drawn its line in the sand, and they would not back down. "Report," Maris ordered, her voice steady, yet filled with tension. "The alien forces are in disarray, Commander," came the reply. "They are attempting to regroup, but their morale is shattered. Many of their units are questioning their leadership, and we've intercepted communications indicating a significant amount of confusion. They are not as unified as they once were." Maris nodded. The first strike had been only a small part of the larger picture. The aliens had underestimated Earth's ability to fight back, and that mistake had cost them dearly. But this was only the beginning. She had seen the reports from the other factions, the ones who had long ignored Earth as a mere speck in the universe. Now they were starting to wonder whether their assumption had been wrong. As Maris sat deep in thought, her mind raced with the knowledge that the galaxy had not yet realized what they had awakened. The attack on the alien base was the spark, but the fire was just beginning to spread. Far away from Earth, in the hidden corridors of the Galactic Council, a discussion was taking place. The leaders of the galaxy's most powerful races were gathered, their faces serious and grim. They had received word of the broadcast, and while most had dismissed Earth as no more than a nuisance in the past, the tone of their response had changed. The humans. "They've declared war," said one of the representatives, his voice edged with disbelief. "And they are not backing down." The attack on the base wasn't just a raid. It was a message. Earth has made it clear that it will fight to the end, no matter the cost. "What do we do?" asked another leader, his voice laced with concern. "We can't ignore this. If we leave it unchecked, what will stop them from coming after us next?" The human message is clear. They won't stop until they've exacted their revenge. A silence fell over the room. The weight of the situation hung in the air. Earth's actions had not only weakened one of the most powerful alien factions, but had also sent a clear warning to the rest of the galaxy. Humanity was no longer the defenseless species they had once been. No longer would they stand idly by as others trampled over them. Meanwhile, on Earth, the leaders of the human forces gathered in secret, planning the next phase of their retaliation. The strike on the alien base had been successful, but now they had to prepare for the inevitable response. The aliens would come, and when they did, humanity would be ready. "Our resources are limited, but we have something they don't," said General Tava, a respected military strategist. "They underestimate us, and that is our greatest strength. We've made our mark, but we need to strike again, quickly and decisively. The message must be clear. Earth is not to be ignored." Commander Maris nodded in agreement. She had seen the reports of the alien forces preparing to retaliate. They would come at Earth, but they had made a crucial mistake. They had underestimated the will of the human spirit. The next phase of the plan would involve a series of strikes aimed not just at military targets, but at the heart of the alien empire's infrastructure. Earth needed to show that it could not only defend itself, but could dismantle the very systems that had supported the alien invasion. "Once we strike, there can be no turning back," Maris warned. "The galaxy will see Earth for what it truly is, not a victim, but a force to be reckoned with." As the commanders worked late into the night, the tension in the air grew palpable. The galaxy was stirring, and Earth's place within it was about to be rewritten. But with every move, the stakes grew higher. Humanity's desire for justice would soon draw the attention of those who had nothing to do with the initial crime, and Earth would have to face the consequences of its actions. Meanwhile, the galaxy's factions began to align themselves, preparing for the inevitable conflict. The alien forces, now fractured and unsure, were looking for any advantage to regain their power. And Earth was preparing to deliver another strike, a reminder that the first was no accident. As the countdown to the next attack began, the universe held its breath. The calm before the storm was over, and the storm was coming. Would the galaxy tremble at Earth's fury? Or would humanity's revenge burn out before it could take full form? Only time would tell. The air around Earth was tense, communications were tight, and the military's movements were swift and calculated. The message was clear. Humanity had already made its first strike, and the universe would soon know that Earth had no intention of backing down. It wasn't just about retaliation anymore. It was about sending a shockwave across the galaxy, making the powers that be realize that Earth's fury would not be ignored. Back on Earth, Commander Maris sat in the dimly lit command room, surrounded by her team. The next phase of their operation was underway. The countdown to launch the second strike had begun. But this time, the mission was even more dangerous. They weren't just going after a base or a ship. They were going after the very heart of the alien empire's infrastructure. "Are we sure about this?" General Talbot asked, his voice quiet, but laced with concern. "This will escalate everything. There's no going back once we hit them this time." Maris looked at the map of the galaxy on the screen before her. It was a blueprint of the alien empire, a vast network of planets and outposts. Their next target was one of the most crucial resources for the alien empire, a massive shipyard that produced the warships used to terrorize the galaxy. If they struck there, it would cripple the aliens' ability to retaliate and show the universe that Earth could hit where it hurt the most. "We've come this far," Maris said, her voice resolute. "This is our chance to cripple them. If we succeed, we'll send a clear message. We're not just defending ourselves anymore. We're making sure they never forget what they've done." The team's faces were serious, but they knew there was no turning back. The alien forces had already made their move against Earth. Now it was time for humanity to make the second strike, one that would echo across the galaxy. Meanwhile, the galaxy's other factions had begun to take note of the growing conflict. The initial strike on the alien base had shaken the very core of galactic politics. As word spread of humanity's daring move, many began to question their own positions. Could Earth really stand up to the might of the alien empire? Was this just a fluke, or was there something more to humanity's strength? In the heart of the Galactic Council, leaders from all over the galaxy began to exchange concerns. No one had expected humanity to strike back with such ferocity. They were no longer the weak, defenseless species they had once thought. The question on everyone's mind was the same. How far would humanity go? And how would they respond if provoked again? One leader, a member of the Alteri species, spoke with obvious concern. "The humans have shown us something we did not think possible. They are not to be underestimated. If they keep going like this, they may just become a real power in the galaxy." His words sent a ripple of unease across the room. Earth had become a force, and the other factions knew it. While many had originally thought of humanity as a pawn, a species with little to offer in the grand scheme of galactic politics, Earth had proved them wrong. They had fought back, and now they were setting their sights on something much bigger. Back on Earth, the moment of truth had arrived. Commander Maris gave the order. The fleet launched into space, the ships heading toward the heart of the alien empire. Each ship carried with it not just advanced weapons, but a message. Earth would not be a victim anymore. As they approached the alien shipyard, tension filled the air. The fleet moved silently through the vastness of space, their sensors scanning for any sign of enemy presence. The alien forces had no idea that Earth was coming for them again, and that was exactly how they wanted it. Maris stood at the bridge of the lead ship, watching the stars move past her. Every second that passed felt like an eternity. Her mind raced through the possibilities. The plan was flawless, but the stakes were high. If they failed, it wouldn't just be a setback. It could mean the end of humanity's resistance. The aliens would be quick to strike back, and the message they would send would be clear. Earth had dared to fight back, and now it would pay. But Maris didn't dwell on the fear. She had led them this far, and she wouldn't stop now. Humanity's vengeance had only just begun. She couldn't afford to falter. Then came the signal, the first sign that their target was in sight. The alien shipyard loomed before them, a sprawling facility of immense size, surrounded by defensive structures and powerful warships. It was the heart of the alien empire's military power. And now it was within Earth's reach. Commander Maris gave the final command. Engage. The first wave of missiles launched, cutting through the darkness of space and streaking toward their target. The explosions lit up the void, illuminating the alien shipyard in a blaze of fire. In the moments that followed, chaos erupted. The alien defenses scrambled to respond, but it was too late. Earth had already struck. Across the galaxy, the shockwaves of humanity's second attack rippled out, reaching the ears of those who had doubted Earth's ability to fight back. The galaxy was changing. And Earth, once thought weak and insignificant, had proven that it was a force to be reckoned with. As the alien shipyard burned, Commander Maris stood tall, looking out at the destruction. This was just the beginning. The universe had underestimated humanity, but now it had learned the hard way. Earth's vengeance was just beginning, and the stars would never be the same again. The destruction of the alien shipyard was only the beginning. Humanity's vengeance had set the galaxy on fire, and the flames were quickly spreading. As the last of the smoke from the explosions dissipated in the cold vacuum of space, the effects of Earth's second strike were already being felt far and wide. Commander Maris stood in the command center, staring at the screens in front of her. Reports were flooding in from Earth's fleet, confirming the success of their mission. The alien shipyard was in ruins, and their enemies were scrambling to pick up the pieces. But that victory came at a price, one that Maris knew they would have to pay sooner rather than later. The alien empire wouldn't take this blow lightly. They would retaliate, and when they did, Earth would be ready. The reality of their success was bittersweet. They had sent a message to the galaxy, but now the universe had to hear it. Earth was no longer an easy target. The fight was far from over, and their enemies would not rest until they had taken revenge. Commander Maris could already hear the whispers of doubt from other corners of the galaxy. Some were still unsure whether Earth was capable of such a bold act of defiance. But that would change, and soon. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, the alien empire was reeling. They had lost an essential part of their military infrastructure, and the damage to their pride was even worse. The leaders of the alien empire gathered in their war room, their faces darkened with anger and confusion. One of the highest-ranking generals, Krafak, slammed his fist on the table. How could we have missed this? We should have known. We should have anticipated the humans' response. A senior advisor spoke up, trying to calm the room. It wasn't just their response, General. We underestimated them. Earth fought back with power we never thought possible. We must reassess our strategies. Krafak's face twisted into a scowl. We've been too lenient. Too weak. This is no longer about maintaining control. It's about crushing them before they become a true threat. The alien leaders discussed their next move, all agreeing that a retaliation would be necessary. But the question was, how could they strike back when their most significant warships had been destroyed? Earth had not just attacked their resources, they had attacked their reputation. Their military might, once seen as unchallenged, was now in question. In the depths of Earth's war room, Commander Maris and her team weren't wasting any time. They knew that the enemy would respond, and when they did, it would be brutal. The next phase of their plan had already begun. They were not just defending their planet, they were going on the offensive. Maris turned to General Tava. We've hit them where it hurts, but we have to make sure they can't recover. We need to keep the pressure on. Tava nodded. I agree. We've taken out a shipyard, but their military power still looms over us. We can't allow them time to regroup. The next move was critical. Earth needed to strike at the heart of the alien empire's command structure. The goal was clear: weaken the enemy's leadership and send them a message they couldn't ignore. The human fleet had already begun its advance toward the alien capital. The mission would not be easy. The capital was heavily guarded, surrounded by fleets of warships, and protected by the best defense systems the aliens had to offer. But Maris was unshaken. She had seen Earth rise from nothing to challenge a galaxy that had long ignored them. They had made their first strike, but now it was time to finish what they had started. As the fleet made its way toward the alien capital, tension among the crew grew. Every eye was fixed on the mission, every ear listening for the slightest sound of danger. Earth's fleet was determined to push forward, but the risk was high. No one knew what kind of defense they would face, or how far the alien empire was willing to go to protect their heart. Maris stood at the command deck, staring out at the endless void of space. The lights from the fleet's ships illuminated the darkness as they neared the alien stronghold. In her mind, she couldn't help but think back to that fateful day when the first attack had been launched. When the galaxy first realized that Earth was no longer just a target, but a threat. That moment had set everything in motion. Now, they were ready to deliver the final blow. As the fleet approached the enemy capital, a message came through from Earth. It was a broadcast, sent to all corners of the galaxy. "We will not be broken." The voice of Commander Maris rang out through the universe. "We are humanity, and we will rise. You thought you could silence us, but now, we will make you hear us. Our vengeance will burn through the stars. And when it is done, we will stand tall while the rest of you lie in ashes." The message was clear. The galaxy was about to witness the true power of Earth's fury. As the fleet closed in on the alien capital, the countdown to strike began. Earth's war for survival had entered its most dangerous phase, and the fate of the universe now hung in the balance. The fleet of Earth's finest warships was now on the doorstep of the alien empire's heart, its capital planet looming large ahead. The entire galaxy held its breath. Every star system, every leader, and every civilian understood the significance of this moment. Earth had made its move, but now the ultimate test was about to begin. Commander Maris stood at the helm of the flagship, the Resolute, her gaze unwavering as she surveyed the chaos unfolding in front of her. The alien capital was surrounded by an intricate web of defense systems, shielding stations, heavy artillery, and entire fleets of alien warships guarding their last line of defense. It was a formidable fortress, one designed to keep any enemy at bay. But Earth's forces weren't just any enemy. They had already struck fear into the heart of the galaxy, and now they were ready to finish what they had started. "All systems are operational," Commander reported Lieutenant Harlan, his voice steady but tinged with the weight of the mission. "We're ready for the final assault." Maris nodded, her jaw clenched. "Prepare the fleet. We are not turning back." In the war room on Earth, the leaders of the planet gathered. The war had escalated far beyond what they had imagined. What started as a simple act of revenge for the death of an innocent child had become a full-fledged conflict, drawing the attention of every major galactic power. The galaxy had never seen a military force like Earth's. It wasn't just their technology or their weapons that made them strong. It was their relentless spirit, their undying will to survive, and the ferocity of their vengeance that sent tremors through the cosmos. "We are standing at the edge of history." President Hale's voice rang out in the war room. "Victory here will prove that we, as humans, will never again be at the mercy of others. But we must be cautious. The aliens will throw everything they have at us. We cannot afford a mistake." Back in space, as Earth's fleet advanced closer to the alien capital, the first signs of alien retaliation began to appear. Fleets of enemy ships began to rise from hidden bases, massive energy shields activated, and the skies above the capital were filled with the sight of enemy warships preparing for a battle unlike any seen before. But the humans were undeterred. They had already faced impossible odds and come out victorious. This final battle would not be any different. "Commander, they're launching everything they have." Lieutenant Harlan called out as a barrage of laser fire and missiles erupted from the alien ships. Earth's fleet wasn't fast enough to avoid all the incoming fire, but their technology had evolved to be nearly indestructible. The human ships took hits, but they absorbed the damage and kept pushing forward. The resilience of Earth's military was becoming legendary, and the alien forces were realizing just how much they had underestimated their foes. The battle raged on as Earth's fleet closed the distance. Each ship deployed its own array of weapons, launching waves of energy blasts, missiles, and drones. The alien forces, for the first time in this war, were fighting with desperation. Their greatest assets, their technology, their command centers, were all under threat, and deep in the heart of their capital, the elite commanders of the alien empire watched with growing horror. "We must crush them now," General Krathak growled, slamming his fist down on the table. "We can't allow Earth to break through our defenses. But Krathak and his colleagues were running out of options. Earth had taken them by surprise from the very beginning. And now, the alien empire was on the verge of collapse. As the battle escalated, the aliens began to realize the grim truth. They had underestimated humanity's resolve. Every human soldier, every officer, every commander on the battlefield was driven by the same unyielding purpose: vengeance. The attack reached its peak as Maris gave the final command to breach the capital's last line of defense. The human ships unleashed their ultimate weapon, a massive EMP pulse that temporarily disabled the alien fleet's shields and communication systems. It was a brutal, but necessary, tactic. "Now, strike," Maris shouted, her voice commanding as the final stage of the mission began. A barrage of laser fire and missiles erupted from Earth's ships, and within moments, the alien defenses began to crumble. The capital's once impenetrable shield faltered, and Earth's forces advanced. The alien ships that had once seemed invincible were now helpless before Earth's overwhelming fury. The shockwave from the EMP blast rippled across the galaxy, and for the first time, the true scale of Earth's power was undeniable. Inside the capital, the alien leadership scrambled. Their once proud empire was crumbling before them, and they could no longer stop the oncoming tide. The very empire that had believed itself invincible was now faced with utter annihilation. As the last of their defenses shattered, they knew the war was over. Maris stood at the command center, watching the capital fall. The galaxy, once divided and hostile, would never be the same. Earth had sent a message, a warning, that they would never be ignored again. Humanity had taken on the galaxy's most powerful empire and emerged victorious. "We've won," Lieutenant Harlan said, his voice filled with awe. But Maris knew this victory came at a cost. The galaxy would never forget the devastation that had been wrought upon it. But Earth's vengeance, in the end, had burned away the scars of their past, leaving behind a new chapter in the story of humanity. And so the final assault ended, with the alien capital in ruins and the galaxy forever altered. Earth had crossed the line, and in doing so, had irrevocably changed the fate of the universe. As the remnants of the once proud alien empire lay in ruins, the aftermath of the battle rippled through the galaxy. The cosmos was quiet, the echoes of war reverberating in the silence of space. Earth had not only won a war, but had set the stage for a new era. An era where humanity stood at the helm, ready to shape the galaxy in their own image. Commander Maris stood on the bridge of the Resolute, gazing out at the debris from the alien capital. The battle had been fierce, and the cost had been high, but the message had been sent. The human forces, once underestimated, had wiped out their enemies, leaving only the echoes of their vengeance in their wake. "We did it," Lieutenant Harlan said, his voice soft, as if still absorbing the magnitude of their success. "We've won." Maris didn't respond immediately. She was too deep in thought. The weight of their actions, the death toll, the destruction, it was all too much to process in the moment. But one thing was clear: Earth had changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. And now, they had to decide what to do with that power. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted across the planet. People poured into the streets, waving flags, chanting and singing in jubilation. They had taken their revenge. They had proven that no one, not even the mightiest empire in the galaxy, could trample on humanity. But in the midst of the celebrations, President Hale's face was grim. "This victory is ours, but it's also a burden," Hale said to his advisors. "We've done what no one thought possible, but now the galaxy is watching. They're looking to us to lead." The questions that had plagued Earth for centuries now hung in the air. Could humanity maintain its dominance? Would it become the oppressive force it had so long despised? Or would Earth forge a path of justice and equality for all the beings in the galaxy, as they had always hoped to do? "We must be careful," Hale continued, looking over his advisors. "Power, once gained, can corrupt. We cannot let it change who we are." But even as the leaders on Earth discussed the future, There were whispers among the stars. The other galactic powers, those that had stood by and watched Earth's rise with both awe and fear, began to take action. No one dared to challenge humanity outright, but alliances were quickly forged, and some began to question whether Earth's rise was a threat to their own existence. Commander Maris and her crew, fresh from their victory, found themselves on the front lines of this uncertain future. The war had ended, but the real battle had just begun. The galaxy was vast, and not all of its inhabitants were eager to embrace the new order Earth had established. Tensions flared as humanity's power spread, and it was unclear whether Earth would be seen as a beacon of hope or a tyrant on the rise. But as Maris looked out into the stars, a new thought formed in her mind. Humanity had fought for this moment, not just for revenge, but for a future where they were free to choose their destiny. They had proven their strength, but now they needed to prove their wisdom. And with that, Earth's real challenge began, not to conquer, but to lead with compassion and understanding. The galaxy would never forget the fall of the alien empire. It would never forget how humanity, a species once on the brink of extinction, had risen from the ashes to change the very fabric of existence. The price had been steep, but the lesson was clear: never underestimate humanity. As Maris walked through the halls of the Resolute, the enormity of what they had done began to settle in. Earth was no longer just a small planet in a far-off corner of the galaxy. They had become a force that could no longer be ignored. But with that power came responsibility. The road ahead was uncertain, and the path to true peace would not be easy. Yet, for the first time in their history, humanity had the power to shape the future. The stars above were silent, as if watching, waiting to see what humanity would do next. The universe was no longer just a vast expanse of unknowns. It was a place where humanity's voice now mattered, where their actions had the power to change the course of history. And so, with the fall of the alien empire, humanity entered a new era, one where they could no longer be ignored, and where their future was in their own hands. The galaxy would remember the day Earth's vengeance reshaped the stars. But the true test of humanity's strength would come not from their ability to conquer, but from their ability to lead and forge a future where all could live without fear. The universe watched as humanity took its first steps into the unknown, determined to never again be the victim. And as Earth's fleet sailed through the stars, they knew one thing for certain: this was only the beginning.